Hey everyone, welcome to today's episode of our podcast, Decisions Now. I am your host, Erin Pearson. I am the VP of Marketing at Evalueserve, and today I'm very excited to have Gordon Chu joining us. He is the Digital Innovation Manager at Cathay Pacific. Gordon, welcome and thanks for joining.
Thank you, Erin. I'm very happy to be here today.
Great. So in the discussion, we're going to be talking a lot about the creation of a culture around innovation and enabling AI for everyone within the organization. We're going to be looking into upskilling, adoption, AI readiness, and changing perceptions of AI across an organization. But before we get into that, to set some context, can you start by just describing what your role is at Cathay Pacific?
Okay, Cathay Pacific is a global airline, so our home base is Hong Kong. We connect passengers from Hong Kong to more than 100 destinations around the globe, around all the continents. And I think for the US audiences here, so we do fly from Chicago, Boston, New York, LA, and San Francisco currently. We have been adding more and more destinations as part of our plan for rebuild our capacity. I think next year we're going to be flying to and from Seattle as well. So my role in the company is digital innovation. Currently, I have been with the company for almost 7 years. And what I do is innovation culture, innovation process, and innovation partnership. So meaning that I set up discipline. So discipline for business units, IT, and also digital transformation leads in the company to look at ideas where we collected everywhere, be it like through workshop, be it through our innovation platform, and discuss how do we move an idea to a technical requirement, get them validated by the business owners, get them validated by the IT, and build a transparency of our innovation process. Another thing that we do will be innovation culture. I think at high level, we want to make the company to be more innovative, but what does that mean, right? So we have to work out strategy for us to break down that theme into actionables. For example, could be a innovation carnival that we organize in the office where we can invite the startups and also like hyperscalers come over, do their demo of their technologies so that people get more inspired. One thing that we can do. Another thing could be like I said, innovation platform. How do we enable a idea collection program in a way that's not very like black box? How do we make sure when an idea contributor submits their ideas, right? We're able to give them a transparency that when their idea is being taken care of, even when their ideas get rejected, right? What's the reason and why is it being rejected? I think that process is also a learning for them. And we're trying to build that. So this is pretty much around the innovation process and innovation culture that we're building. Partnership will be how do we utilize the communities around the company, like students, universities, and also other startup companies out in Hong Kong and outside Hong Kong, right? We need to build platform for us to share context, the business challenges, pain points to them, so that we are able to outsource and also channel the additional innovative capitals from outside Cathay, but ultimately around the partnership and also process and the internal people strategies, we are trying to increase the overall creative capitals so that we can drive more business outcomes.
That is super relevant right now. Everything that you just said, I think being able to create all of that internally at your organization, and I think one of the things that you said that really resonated is creating a culture of transparency. And then also, if somebody is trying to be innovative and maybe they didn't hit the mark with it, how can you help encourage them and learn from that so they can do better in the next time instead of making them feel ashamed for not really hitting it out of the park the first time? But I guess when you really think about it, true innovation is actually quite rare, and really coming up with a truly novel idea doesn't happen that much, but it doesn't mean that people can't optimize a process or come up with different things that will help an organization. So creating that open culture of collaboration is very important. So just to jump into some of this and to get some of the nuggets of wisdom that you have, how can organizations effectively upskill their workforce, especially those that are not in a technical role, on leveraging AI for innovation?
Okay. Yeah, I think this is going to be a new requirement for a lot of companies in order for them to stay competitive in these like post LM, post ChatGPT world, business world, right? Because I think in the past it's all about like you have like few projects, few IT projects, if you hire some IT talent, and that is all about the AI adoption. But as we all have seen like how the AI ChatGPT has democratized the access of AI, everybody using it. So the new requirement for corporate to stay competitive is going to be making everyone AI capable. So in order to actually achieve that kind of like AI ready vision for all the big corporates. So exactly what we can do right now is we have to create programs, we have to create like curriculums so that we can demystify what AI can do or what AI cannot do. And I think also like from like a corporate planning perspective, we sort of have to align our messaging towards all the employees that the company does encourage the use of AI, and we want people to feel encouraged to do that. But also, messaging is not enough. We have to provide resources and materials for them. So I would say, I think primarily two things would be you provide workshops where people can understand the basics of AI. What's the differences between machine learning, deep learning, and generative AI? Where do they fall into the wide spectrum of AI? These are some basics that we can educate our employees. The other thing would be on top of like covering the basics, right? Sort of organized workshops to give spaces for employees to get creative around how they can apply AI in their relevant business departments. And yeah, I think these are very common strategies that any corporates can implement to elevate their AI readiness.
I think having the workshops is a great way to not only upskill the employees, but also to teach them to, I guess it's this expression, teach somebody to fish rather than to just hand them a fish as well. So there's a lot of fear around job replacement within AI, especially how fast it's taking off.
Mm-hmm.
So if you do teach them how to use these skills to do their job better, hopefully that will also eliminate some of those fears and help them become some of those top performers in the company as well. So yeah, so one of those pieces of education that needs to be done is when you are talking to AI systems, there's the job of like prompt engineers that has gained a lot of traction over the past year. Because when you're talking to AI and you're asking for requests, you have to essentially speak differently than when you're talking to a human. You have to add different context to get better answers, and you have to also understand what's the data coming in behind it, and how is that influencing the data or the answers that you're getting on the other side. So how can people start to reshape their thinking and communication styles to better interact with these AI systems?
Okay. Yeah, I think for me, right, because when I started using generative AI, there was never any like structure like AI, how to talk to AI kind of programs available back then. I think it started like late December last year. But I think yeah, it does really require a learning curve in order for you to understand how exactly you should interact with the AI in order to generate quality content. So we don't want everyone to be going through the process that I went through. Otherwise, it's going to take so long, and it's not as like intuitive as we think that it would be. So I would say I've seen a lot of like prompt engineering guidelines in terms of like how you can organize better for providing the background, the context, the question, and the desired format. So I think prompt engineering is not really a like rocket science. So it's more like we need to provide structure to organize our thinking, our thoughts, like even different aspects. You have to break things into aspects so that the AI can understand better what exactly is needed for the content generation. And also, people need to understand like the initial generated answer might not be perfect, but there's always spaces for people to fine tune it by providing more and more context to the AI. And the more context that the person can articulate, the better the quality of answer it can generate. I think we sort of have to like let people understand the iterative nature of the AI, and I think people will be able to make sense of it and be able to be successful in it.
Going back to what you said earlier about the workshops as well, I think it's actually probably a pretty important thing to teach people what are the expectations of the quality of answers that you're getting back so that they do know how to go back and talk to it and really challenge it to provide better answers as well. Or if you have a certain brand voice that you're using, if this is being used by a marketing team, how to teach it and train it, how to use that specific style of voice. Because especially if you're a new employee, you might read something and say, that's good enough. Or if you're writing something about a product that you don't know that much about, you might say, sounds about right.
Yep.
But there's a lot of technical pieces that when certain words are applied can mean something very different to other people. So you have to have that very analytical mindset when you are kind of assessing what it says. At the end of the day, you can't get lazy. If it's going to give the answers, there's actually a lot of work on validating the answers that it is providing.
Correct.
Yeah. So what strategies have you seen can be implemented to ensure all employees, especially ones that AI might not be quite as prominent in their role, can contribute and benefit from AI and innovation?
I would say I think let's talk about like the democratization of AI, right? So this is something that we have been doing in Cathay Pacific already. I think we have implemented few tracks of programs. I think first of all, starting with like we have to make the tool available to people that have interest in it, right? And so we started with like making ChatGPT at the corporate version available. Not like the public version, because the corporate version that we have, we guarantee all the data will be kept within our instance. And we also orchestrate a message that, okay, you are welcome. You are encouraged to use this company provided GPT instance to do your work. It's a safe environment. So you sort of have to craft like messaging like that. And so people feel safe to use GPT, because this is also a typical anxiety. People are not sure whether they are entitled, whether they will get in trouble, but if they blend AI into their day to day. And also you have to sort of like, work out with the leaderships. You have to educate leadership what AI is, what AI is not, and also get their buy-ins of encouraging a program like this. Because you sort of have to set examples. Oh, you have to tell the employees, oh, even the CEO is doing that. This is the prompt written by the CEO and also the executive leaders. And you sort of have to create that kind of program to influence, like at the organization level, that the use of AI is encouraged. And also but I think at the same time, you also have to work out with your internal like regulatory and also like gatekeeping departments, make sure we have a clear guideline and instruction so that everyone knows how to use AI in a safe and also ethical manner.
So I think that's nice when you have the opportunity, or you have a company that is supporting the use of AI and it's a top-down approach. If you were to be consulting with a company that might not have that openness in their culture, are there any tips that you would provide to somebody that would encourage them to talk to others in their organization to really create an organization of AI readiness? Or how, like, are there any tips that you can give on how they could talk to an executive team about why it's necessary to bring this in and why they should be encouraging it?
Yeah, I think you sort of have to like do experimentation with a relatively more open department, or say even like in my company, there are legacy departments that have been here for so long, for 50 years, and for example finance and also like the employee services. There are also a newer, more transformative departments, for example, digital marketing departments, and also like we have a digital transformation department, digital experience. So you sort of have to find out wherever you can find the better openness within a company, and trying to identify champions that will express interest in working out with you. Because ultimately, for you to convince people, right, it's not only about like showing technologies or telling them, okay, it's got like so much, like so many terabytes of training data. That's why technology is cool. People don't buy that. You have to sort of like not only demonstrate the technology value, but also demonstrate the business value. But us, like working in the IT and digital transformation department, only us, we cannot really provide the business value. We cannot really articulate business value because we are not a business owner, right? And you have to find a champion that can provide a business contact that can be there to validate the business value from any AI use case. So I would pick typically marketing, design, and also content creation. So these are the departments that where we can easily articulate the balance for AI. For example, using AI to generate content, using AI to generate like hyper personalization, so that like we are not only like personalizing by segments, but personalizing by individual experience, like very per personal level. You sort of have to like create stories that inspire. So if your current sentiment is like the executive not really getting it, and you sort of have to like make them to give you more funding to support a more wider corporate transformative program, going from more money, building AI discipline, creating policies, right? You can go from the bottom to top, but I think it would do is like find the right business champion and yeah, create smaller experimentation, but also very important to articulate the business value from it, and ultimately document everything and create stories that inspire people.
Gordon, one of the things I particularly liked about what you said is the create the stories around it, because it's not always about just putting together a PowerPoint of this is the before state, this is the after state, here are the metrics that are associated. It's the literal story that somebody can explain to somebody that says, this is what I personally did. You add a lot of emotion into the story, and that's the piece that you share. And then after you share that story, then you say, let me show you how these metrics now work. After knowing that, because there's many stats that essentially show how no one really remembers statistics. They just remember the stories in presentations that people have. So that's really the memorable part. And you will find people continue to reference them for months or years after the fact, if they are a particularly good story. So when you're actually looking at the stories within your company of those who've been able to effectively bring AI into their role, there's initial expectations that have been set when AI came out. And I think there was these preconceived notions that people had about what it was going to do or what it was going to enable or how it was going to change jobs. So how have you seen that has actually played out within your organization? How much has the automation come into play versus how much has it acted as an augmentation tool?
Yeah, I think very good question, because even for the project team, right, we had been doing a lot of like experimentations, proof of concepts with the generative AI technologies. But even for us, right, at the beginning, we had these false expectation of what AI could do. We thought it's gonna replace human. Even like from the executive like perspective, they think, okay, it's gonna replace my entire call center. But in reality, it's not, because the technology itself, it's not really built based on a lot of like binary like conditions and rules, right? If you build a machine like based on like binary condition and rules, like the if and else statements, right? Of course, it's automation, because all the scenarios are control, all the condition are control, right? So that's what automation is. That's what a factory automation is like. But Gen AI doesn't really have this nature, because like the output is 100% based on like probabilities, based on like a statistic table or something, right? And we sort of, of course, like because like having a false expectation of what the AI would do, I think that sort of like disappointed a lot of business users that we work with at the very beginning. But also like by having conversation and dialogues with community outside our company, I think we have been able to articulate better that this technology is not for replacing any workforce. It's not for replacing anyone. Instead, it's for augmenting what we do currently. It's more like empowering us to do things faster. For example, like in the past, right, it might take me a few hours to complete like 10 emails. But right now, within 3 hours, I can finish like replying 20 emails, because like it helps me to organize my thoughts faster. It helps me to create like structure emails faster, a lot faster, ever than before. And but how do I translate my personal productivity like benefits in a way that makes sense for a business context, right? So here comes content creation. So in our company, we originally created a POC with the marketing department, because like content creation is pretty much like their day-to-day, right? They have to create content for EDMs, they have to create content for website, they have to create content for mobile app everywhere. So in the past, they would have to like hire like an external agency that helps with content creation. So what they do is just provide like a briefing document, articulating the tone and manners required for Cathay Pacific, the languages requirements. So we thought like we can just simply pre-train the model and also and then like provide the same like briefing documents that we would usually provide to agency to the AI, and we expect the AI to be able to provide similar quality of content. But I mean, at the end, of course not. So the user complaint actually, there is some like validation and verification efforts needed for verifying the content generated. So to them is it's more effort. But the thing is, I think we have to sort of look at the entire end-to-end business process holistically. Is okay now that although there's a new process for us to like validate the AI generated contents, right? But do we save money by moving that process? Moving the responsibility of generating the content back inside the organization. We sort of have to like understand the current state and the future state. Current state, we are hiring external agency. Future state is going to be us creating a new process inside the company for AI content validations. And that's how you sort of like understand like whether there's a need for you to, instead of expecting the AI to replace your entire end-to-end process, is that an additional step that you can create in your existing business workflow for the AI to fit in, so that there's an overall saving for a company. And this is the kind of thinking that we want to inform to everyone, because ultimately the technology is wrought for replacing your entire workflow. But there are definitely spaces in your existing workflow where AI can play a role and ultimately benefit your company. Could be from like a revenue perspective and also from a cost saving perspective.
Naturally, that resonated with me as I'm in marketing. One of the things I think in particular that a lot of people talk about how fast AI is, but what we're seeing is that's actually opening up a lot of new possibilities of what can be done. So a lot of people are talking about hyper-personalization given AI.
Mm-hmm.
So just because it can do things faster, that's true. But I think some of the things that people aren't talking about as much is because you can generate content faster, that also means that you should generate better content that's more specific and more targeted to the industries, to the solutions, to the individual clients, accounts, personas, etc., that you're targeting as well. So it's not decreasing the amount of work, it's actually increasing it. And I think it's also going to reset user expectations and really have this high level of people really want that personalization, because it's
definitely,
conceptually at least, easy to do. Now, I think the second piece that what you said is there's a lot of validation that still needs to be done. And so it definitely speeds up parts of the process, but it also slows down the validation and like the summarization or the like the review process as well. Because before you were very involved in the front end and you could be less involved in the back end. And now you're less involved in the front and more involved in the back end of it as well. Last questions that I have for you is just to tie in off of that, we've discussed a little bit about how people tend to focus on the negatives of AI, especially around job security concerns. We've been talking a lot about how people can change the culture to really enable it, and how you can eliminate a lot of these concerns by just empowering people to use it. So what are some of the common perceptions that you've been seeing as the year has gone on and as you've been talking to different people? How have those perceptions been changing? And how are you seeing that they influence the adoption and utilization of AI?
I think in the typical like Gen AI projects that we work around, right? It's like when we ask someone to trying to like to explain their reasoning around their work. For example, there was a project we're trying to ask the agent around his reasoning. When a customer is eligible for a compensation, what are the rules, what are the documentation for the agent to make such kind of determination, judgment, right? People would get very uncomfortable because they feel like their job is getting replaced. So that I think it's very normal that we experience resistance when it comes to engaging business units, engaging anyone that can collaborate with you. But I think you sort of have to show examples. I think could be coming from a personal experience, could be coming from other industry use cases. I think they're everywhere. I mean, how AI has empowered people to do more. I think one analogy I typically use is calculator, right? I think before the invention of calculator, we had accountants. But after invention of calculators, what happened? Do we have less accountants? No, right? We have more accountants. So I think the point I'm trying to draw is more like it's not going to replace us, but I think it's going to create spaces for us to make things better. I think that's happened after the invention of calculator and computer. They did not replace accountants, but instead they help us to do all these repetitive tasks, and they gave human the space to make use of our creativities, and also they help us to sophisticate the practices around accounting. And I think this is also happening from generative AI, and this is the kind of messaging you want to orchestrate. I think going back from a call center agent perspective, right? I think the intent, it does not have the nature of replacing human at all. But overall, I think it's more like the tool that enables every individual working in the call center to be able to achieve more, because with the tool, they're able to produce more informed and more quality answers that can delight anyone that they speak with. And that also helps a lot with the job satisfaction. So I think this is the kind of messaging that we want to orchestrate. I really like using the calculator analogy. I think it works all the time.
Yeah, no, I think the calculator is a great example. I typically think of Excel as well. So a lot of people who are doing manual data entry before, and then Excel helps to automate a lot of that also. It goes back to what you were saying just a few minutes ago on it's really here to augment what you're doing. It's not there to just automate everything. And it still needs a lot of review, and it's really more of a personal assistant, and it helps to accelerate you and eliminate some of the things that maybe you don't enjoy quite as much as well. Gordon, I think that's all the time we have today, but I really appreciate you joining. I think the tips that you shared on how to create a culture of innovation were really helpful, and how to perform different workshops and talk to your company about bringing it in and just creating this culture of openness, transparency, and innovation as well is really important for businesses to succeed today. So thank you for sharing all those insights.
Yep. Thank you for taking your time, and I appreciate the opportunity for me to share a bit of learning that I've accumulated over the past 6 months. So I would say it's been a very exciting journey, and even myself, I keep learning. The industry have been improving the technology as well. I think right now still a lot of uncertainties around the technical challenges, especially hallucination, and also how different jurisdictions will be reacting of the mass adoption of AIs, right? But I look forward to see how we can work together as an industry to tackle all these challenges together.
Yeah, no, I think it'll be great to see how people continue to collaborate and share ideas. Thanks, Gordon. It was great talking to you.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Decisions Now. Check out all episodes at evalueserve.com/podcast, and don't forget to subscribe for future episodes.